Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all on the webinar today. Let's get straight on with the content. Now, whether we like it or not, we find ourselves in back-to-back online meetings, but how productive are all of these meetings? Now, research shows that when people use the Microsoft 365 meeting tools effectively, they can save up to 104 minutes per week per individual. So it can be quite a compelling, hard-edged return on investment there if we get this right. Now, the big question is, are you and your team making the most of the time you spend in these online meetings? Or are you feeling overwhelmed, suffering from meeting fatigue, and feeling burnt out with all of these meetings? Are you turning up for meetings unprepared? And is the value of these meetings diminishing because follow-up and actions seem to fall through the cracks from one meeting to the next? Now, the objective of this webinar is to look at how you can make the most of your online meetings using the latest feature releases in Microsoft Teams. Now, don't forget, if you have any questions, please post them in the top right-hand corner. You'll see a Q&A button, and we'll address as many as we can today, time willing, but we'll most certainly follow up on all of those post the event. Now let's take a quick look at our agenda. We're going to start with productivity score. I'm going to get a little bit techy, a little bit analytical, because I want to use productivity score just to set the context of why using all of these meeting features that Microsoft Teams provides is so important. We're then going to move into meeting lifecycle management. Now, this, I believe, is the platform feature that delivers the most effective online meeting experience possible. Meet Now, we'll move on to that. We'll look at this simple but very effective feature, which I think is very complementary. It delivers a lot of the similar features to the lifecycle management feature. Then we'll move on, change tack a little bit. We'll look at polls, we'll look at breakout rooms, and we look at the together mode, because it's all about, okay, we're running highly effective meetings, fantastic, but we've got to make them a rich experience. We've got to make them interactive. So we're going to look at polls, breakout rooms, and together mode to do that. Then we're going to come on to what I class or call as my get out of jail feature, which is the noise suppression feature. If we're in an environment where we've got lots of background noise, just background hum or the screaming kids, bang, this feature really is your get out of jail card. Then I'm going to look at, we're going to do a roundup of all the other noteworthy features and devices that Microsoft released in January. And then we're going to finish with a summary of today and a bit of a call to action. So we should cover, we will cover all that in the 30 minutes we have. So let's start with productivity score and give the webinar some context about why we should be looking at using these features to improve our online meetings. Now, your people are your most prized assets, but how do you empower them to be the best they possibly can? Now, we do that by using productivity score to help you put together very targeted improvement plans that will help move your business transformation forward. Now, before productivity score, you'd rely on gut feeling, sprinkled in with some anecdotal feedback from your team and various people, and some rather basic consumption data your partner might provide you with. But with productivity score, I'm going to just drop into that so we can bring it to life. So rather than just talk about it, let's have a look at it. So on the screen now, you should see the productivity score. Now, this productivity score is for our organization. So we're looking at live data. Every one of you will see this with different data on it for your organization. It's free, it's there, it's part of your tenant. So you should be switching this and start getting familiar with it. It's all about, if you look on the right hand side, it's all about a score. It's how many points Microsoft are giving you based on the best practice features you're using across Microsoft 365. And for every one of those, you get some points. So it's a bit of a gamification going on. In our organisation, our productivity score is 66%. But let's suspend judgment about it. I don't know whether that's good or bad. Yeah, we've got to climb into what's important for us as an organisation using Microsoft 365 to make our people the best we possibly can. Anyway, there's two key groups of scores we need to be mindful of. There's people experiences and there's technology experience. Both of them are equally as important to make up that productivity score. I'd like to touch upon that. The people experience is all about, are your users using the best practice, the features in Microsoft 365 will help them make the best they possibly can across categories such as communications, meetings, content collaboration, teamwork and mobility. Fine, super. But as important as that is the underlying technology experience, because it doesn't matter how motivated our people are to use Microsoft 365, it doesn't matter how great our training program has been, doesn't matter how keen our people are to use all these features. If the underlying technology is pants, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, if it takes 5 minutes to download a file from OneDrive, every Teams video call I take part in, I've got a jitter problem on it. It's going to denigrate what value your organisation gets from your investment in Microsoft 365. Anyway, enough said. We've got further webinars down the line that's going to focus on productivity score. Let's drill into meetings. Now, again, we can see some trend information about how we're performing, and I can see how we're performing against peers in the industry, in your sector, who are similar size organisations and so on. But what is important, I touched upon this earlier on, if we get it right, if we use these features available, we can save up to 104 minutes per week per person in their online meetings. There's two pieces of information down here. We've got some pretty graphs down here. These are the two that are important to me when I look at this for our clients. Are there a lot of people in your organisation spending a lot of time in online meetings? Now, what does Microsoft define as a lot of time in online meetings? Well, actually, they say 10 hours. And you say, Mark, we spend lots more time in online meetings. And I come back to the point that it's all about context. But Microsoft set baseline that if you, as an individual, spend more than 10 hours in online meetings, you're spending a lot of time in online meetings. And then the question is, well, how many of you people are spending a lot of time? In our organisation, a third of our people are spending a lot of time in online meetings. So how can we help those people become the best they possibly can in using the features to be the best possibly can in online meetings? Sorry, I'm losing my thread there a little bit. What I want to do is focus on the first feature, which is meeting lifecycle management. It'll become obvious. So I've got a video nugget I'm going to share with you right now that shows how we can make those people be the best they possibly can. Let's play this video. In this section, I want to focus on how Microsoft can help you run more effective meetings using the concept of meeting lifecycle management. A meeting lifecycle has 3 stages: before, during, and after. The before and after stages are really key and expand on the approach of a traditional virtual meeting and really help to get work done more efficiently. During the before stage, meeting attendees are provided with an opportunity to prepare collaboratively. For example, they can chat with other attendees, start compiling their meeting agenda, and share and work on documents together. And due to the before stage, everyone should be synced up, properly prepared, and so able to squeeze maximum value out of their online meeting. Equally key, afterwards, the collaboration can still continue. For example, reviewing the output of the meeting, allowing the meeting attendees to access and work on any shared documents or content. So let's begin in my Teams calendar, which is exactly the same calendar as you see in Outlook. I'm looking at my diary, and I'm reminded that I have an FY21 sales planning meeting next week that I'm leading, and I've realised I've forgotten to send an agenda and pre-reading material out beforehand. Previously, at this point, I'd have gone into Outlook and hit reply to all on the meeting invite, sending everyone an attachment, essentially creating another thread of information and one more email my colleagues need to manage.
Now with Microsoft Teams' new concept of meeting lifecycle management, I can keep everything together by simply engaging with my meeting details. Now I'm going to open the meeting in my Teams calendar and click on the meeting notes and add the agenda for the FY21 sales planning call. And I'll upload the sales analysis file for my colleagues to view prior to the call. Now to complete my preparation, I'll add a chat message to prompt people to get ready for our meeting. Now, sometime before the scheduled meeting, Gareth accesses the FY21 sales planning meeting from the Teams chat area. Gareth reviews my agenda and starts to answer the questions to save time during our meeting. Gareth then uploads some marketing content in reply to one of my agenda items. At the scheduled time of the meeting, both Gareth and I join the Teams meeting and review the chat that's gone on and the agenda that we put together. As we both had the opportunity to collaborate before the meeting and thoroughly prepare for it, we can focus our valuable time together on what's important. Now, in this case, it's a review of my draft sales plan slides, as all background and peripheral work has been completed and already seen. After I've finished presenting, I'll add the PowerPoint deck to the meeting. Even after the meeting is finished, Gareth and I can continue working on the sales plan. Now, in this example, Gareth and I have gone back into the meeting and are co-authoring to fill the gaps in the slides. In this case, we've chosen to communicate using chat, which we have open in the left-hand window. This allows us to quickly and easily complete the sales plan and is now ready to be shared with a wider sales team. So let's wrap up. The value of the meeting lifecycle management feature is you have one place that you can revisit at any time in the future to remind ourselves of the decisions we've made. Simply by opening the meeting in the Teams calendar, I have one place to see all the activities associated with our meeting, including your various chat posts, files you and your colleagues have shared to support the meeting, and our meeting agenda and any other notes we might have written.
Okay, perfect. So there's good sense. It's all focused on not the meeting itself, but it's the prep. Yeah, making sure we've got agenda, making sure we know what success looks like, making sure we know who's going to do what. Yeah, just the old-fashioned stuff, but also the after piece, which is so important as well. Anyway, let's move on to Meet Now. Why? Well, let's look at this stat. It says that 89% of instant meetings, and instant meetings is Meet Now, are less than 30 minutes long. Now, the opportunity here is if we can flip some of these meetings, these more traditional meetings, into instant Meet Now meetings, we're going to reduce the amount of time people are spending in these meetings, allow them to be productive in doing the other stuff beyond simply taking part in meetings. So what I want to do is share with you a video nugget that looks at how we should be using Meeting Now, potentially, not always, as an alternative.
So let's look at an alternative to a more formal meeting, turning a Teams channel chat into a quick and to the point meeting. So let's look at how we use Meeting Now to do just that. Using Meeting Now to have an instant meeting in the conversation tab of the channel. In this example, I'm in the marketing channel of the widget project team. We can see the conversation about whether we should be using LinkedIn or Instagram as the main thrust of our social media campaign. To keep the meeting in context with the thread of the conversation, first click reply, then the Meet Now icon under where you would typically type your reply. Up comes the pre-meeting screen. Give the meeting a name, check your tech is set up correctly, and then click Meet Now. Now, once you're in the meeting, invite people you want to chat about the social media ideas by selecting from the suggestions, or just type in a name in the search box. You can also invite someone from outside your organization to the meeting, even if they're not using Teams. Now, when you need to record your meeting so everyone can catch up later, click the ellipse button and start recording. The beauty of this feature is the recording of the meeting is stored in the conversation thread after the meeting has finished, maintaining the context of the decision-making process, which is so important for review purposes later, and making sure everyone not involved in that meeting can catch up at a later date.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. So let's bring a little short summary to these two features. Yeah. So what's our takeaway from what we've learned about meeting lifecycle management and Meet Now? It's not acceptable. Yeah, that's a bit of a strong set of words for me to use, but let's go with it. It's not acceptable for us to turn up for a meeting without an agenda, not understanding what success looks like, or understanding what my contribution is expected of me in that meeting. So with lifecycle management is all about taking control of the time we spend together in online meetings, making the most of our time together, really focusing on the before and after phases of the meeting. Equally important for both Lifecycle and Meet Now, everyone that attended the meeting has complete visibility, even those that didn't attend the meeting. Yeah, if they're part of the channel, part of the team, have insight to the decision-making process in one place. It's there forever. So, continuing with a little bit of a preachy theme, I'm sorry about that, it's the Welsh in me, I suppose. It's why don't you become the champion in your business? Let's go old school, yeah? Let's demand that every meeting has an agenda, that we define what success looks like, that we provide pre-reading. Let me draw, and you might say, well, Mark, that's a culture change, but let me draw one simple comparison, and that's the point right down the bottom. It's similar to switching on your video in meetings. Pre-COVID, yeah, if you had a meeting, a video meeting, yeah, very few people or a chunk of people would never turn on the video camera. When we moved into COVID and everybody worked at home, bang, everybody switched the video camera on. It's that kind of sea change we should be looking to achieve, yeah, with how we manage our time in online meetings. Preaching over. Right, now I want to move into Teams polls. Now, I think this is fun, just released. Now, we've done how we should run our meetings, what does best practice look like, but how do we make sure that experience is a rich experience, it's interactive, it's immersive. We talked about polls, we talked about breakout rooms, we talked about together mode. So let's do Teams polls. Now with Teams polls, we can really get interactive with your meeting attendees, creating quizzes, surveys, and doing that quickly and easily so that we can push those out before the meeting, during the meeting, or even after the meeting. So let's get straight in and look at how we'd use that and set one of those up.
In this section of the webinar, I want to show how you can easily use polls to make your meetings more interactive and engaging by creating polls your audience can respond to before and during meetings. To be able to create a poll in the Microsoft Teams meeting, first head to the Calendar tab within Microsoft Teams. Next, find the meeting where you want to include a poll. Don't forget, you have to be either the organizer or one of the presenters to be able to create a poll. Now let's double click into our Town Hall company meeting. As part of a monthly company meeting, I want to take the pulse of the company's morale. To do that, I'm going to add the Forms app to the meeting by clicking on the plus icon. Now this opens up a dialog box where we can add a new tab to our meeting. Now we want to include a poll, and we're going to do that using the Microsoft Forms app. Let's just click through these next few screens. Let's click on this next. Let's click on this text that says create a new poll. This opens up a dialog box where we can start creating a poll. We can enter in the questions and all the different answers that people can choose from. Now in this case, one of the questions that keeps me up at night right now is how my people are feeling. So let's create a poll to see how our people are feeling. I have the option to make it a multiple answer question. Down below, I can share the results automatically after voting. So in this case, I'm going to leave that checked so everyone will be able to see the results of the survey live as everybody interacts with that survey question. Now down below, there's an option to keep responses anonymous. Next, let's click on save, and I'm dropped into the polls view where I can see all the polls I've created for this meeting. Now, only organisers and presenters in the meeting can see all of these draft polls. If you're just an attendee, you won't be able to see any of these polls until I launch them. Now, I want to create one more poll for the meeting, so let's click on Create New. For this question, I want to get some feedback and suggestions on how we can improve our company morale. Again, I can keep the responses anonymous. I'm going to check that and then click on Save, and that drops me back onto all polls view. And right here, I can see all the polls that I've created. Up at the top, I can see the various settings that I set for these polls. Now, before the meeting, I want our people to start responding to the poll, asking how they're feeling. If I click on this drop-down list, I can go back and edit the poll, or I can just delete the poll altogether. Okay, now I'm ready to start getting responses, so that by the time we have the meeting, we'll have some great feedback. Let's click on Launch. Now that I've launched the poll, I can see text up here letting me know that the poll is currently live, and as soon as people start voting, I can view the results. And whenever I want to close off voting, I can do that here. I'm now logged in as Gareth, and here I see a notification in chat requesting Gareth to complete the poll. Gareth submits his vote and clicks on Submit. Gareth can also see how all his colleagues are voting. I've now joined the meeting in Microsoft Teams along with all my other colleagues, and I can see a new polls icon at the top of the screen. Let's click on this. This opens a pane over on the right-hand side. At the very top, I can create a new poll on the fly without even needing to leave the meeting. Underneath that, I can see all of the polls that I created ahead of the meeting. I can see the poll that is currently active, and I can click to view results. And down below, I see my other draft poll question. When I'm ready to launch, I can simply click on Launch, and the poll appears in the online meeting for all those in attendance. Now I select what I think is the best option for improving staff morale. I can also see how everyone else is voting. And surprise, surprise, everyone either wants their salary doubled or a reduced working week. Wow, good decision on my part not to allow multiple choice in this survey. Let's click on Done. I'm just going to go ahead and close this poll so we don't get any other responses that might skew the results. Now that we have all the survey results in, I can export the results for further analysis to an Excel spreadsheet. Once the meeting wraps up, I can go back to the meeting in my calendar and click into polls, and I can see all of the results for the different questions.
Fantastic, love it. I really love that feature, makes our meetings interactive. Yeah, that's cool. Breakout rooms, I'll make no excuse for revisiting breakout rooms. It's a feature that we talked about pre-Christmas, but you know, it's so compelling again, like polls. You know, in the old days, yeah, when we used to be in an office and we'd have a company offsite, for example, and we'd say, right, and our boss would say, right, we're going to do a breakout session. We're going to like brainstorm new propositions, sales and marketing. You've got to sell it, so you're going to have to like work out how, you know, what our strategy is for that. So you'd split out, you'd have your whiteboard, bang, you'd come back, share it all. Bang, 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 bang. Well, that's exactly what breakout rooms as a feature in Teams does for us. So let's look briefly at a video of how that might work.
A new icon on the top of our meeting control bar for meeting rooms. Let's click on it and configure the breakout rooms. We start out by defining the number of breakout rooms needed and how we want to separate our group. Teams can automatically assign attendees into rooms, or we can choose to manually assign them ourselves. Let's create 2 rooms and have the participants. Sorry guys, I've got on the top trouble of our meeting control bar for meeting rooms. Let's click on it and configure the breakout rooms. We start out by defining the number of breakout rooms needed and how we want to separate our group. Teams can automatically assign attendees into rooms, or we can choose to manually assign them ourselves. Let's create 2 rooms and have the participants automatically assigned. Here we can see that what will be created is 2 rooms, each with 5 people in them. You can create up to 50 breakout rooms, so there's absolutely no limit. So now we have our 2 breakout rooms with the default names. We can choose to keep the names or rename it by simply clicking on the ellipse next to the room and choose rename. Now let's take a look at how Teams has distributed our attendees amongst the rooms. As we expand the room, we can see the assigned participants. You can make changes and swap attendees between the rooms. For example, let's swap Nicole from the blue room to the green room and move Amy from the green room to the blue room. Now, when you're ready to move everyone into their assigned rooms, simply click on the Start Rooms button. As the organizer of the main meeting, I can choose to jump in between the rooms to do any facilitation that's required. So let's go and see what's going on in the blue room. It looks like everyone's engaged, turned on the video. I could switch my view to together mode for a more engaging experience and use live transcription to record who said what for later reference. Now let's go check in on the other room who are getting on with the SWOT analysis using Microsoft Whiteboard. Now when the time is up, you can bring everyone back into the main meeting and all the files, the chats, whiteboard and transcriptions can be referenced after the rooms are closed. So you're not losing anything. You can pool all those together because you'll be pulling all that together as part of the summary and wrap up for the brainstorming work session. Great, right. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to take an executive decision to jump over together. It is one of my favorite features, and I think it really, I switch it on. If I've got 5 or more people in a meeting, I always use it. We saw a little example of it being used in the breakout rooms. What I want to do is move on to noise suppression. Now we're all in these situations. In days of old, when we'd be in a meeting in an office, open plan, we'd have colleagues sitting in rows, yeah, and they'd be taking part in their meetings and be general ham going on. And I just want to block that noise out in my meeting. I might have screaming kids, yeah, that are being rather annoying at home, or I might be in a coffee shop, God willing, at some point in the future. I do visit a coffee shop and I got the overhead music playing and click clack of plates and so on. Being able to cut that out. This really is a get out of jail feature. So what I'm going to do is quickly show you how we can use it.
It's very inconvenient when you're working from home and you've got all that background noise, the kids running around screaming, or your partner's in the back and cleaning. It's just so disruptive. But when you're using the new noise suppression feature in Teams, the partner can check anything at you. It doesn't matter. It just cancels it all out. How cool is that?
So let's take a look at how we can turn noise suppression on to help us avoid our meetings getting disrupted with background noise. Now, to turn on noise suppression, go to your profile photo in the top right-hand side of the Teams app and go to Settings. Then select Devices, and this is where we'll find the new feature called Noise Suppression. Now, we have 4 different options that we can choose from. There's Off, Low, High, and Auto. With Off, noise suppression is disabled, which is fine if you're in a quiet office. Then we have low, which is ideal for low levels of persistent background noise. Perhaps you're sitting directly under an aircon unit, or you've got background music in a coffee shop. And then you have high, where you might have the craziness of your kids screaming in the background, or your partner's decided to go and vacuum clean the room. What happens here is all that background noise, all that craziness is screened out, just leaving your speech. Now, finally, we have auto, where you leave Teams to work its magic on your behalf. But in most cases, choose the one that best fits your needs, be that off, low, or high.
Great, super, love it. Okay, I need 5 more minutes of your time to complete the webinar. We're running over a little bit. Let's have a look at a roundup of other notable features released in January. Microsoft approvals in Teams. This plays on, it's another excellent example of Microsoft integrating all the collaboration activity you might need to perform as a member of a team into Teams, where Teams becomes your information cockpit or your collaboration cockpit, your collaboration operating system. So what I want to do is quickly show you. I haven't created a nugget, but I think Microsoft do it better than me in this case. So let's just quickly look at what approvals looks like, because I think it's very simple and it's an example of great.
From project proposals to client agreements, you need these requests approved. Approvals in Microsoft Teams is your hub to request, view, and manage all your approvals, including ones from SharePoint, Power Automate, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and more. In Teams, go to Approvals and select New Approval Request. Add details, then send it out. Approvers can sign off on a request right from a chat. Whether you need a client discount, an expense report, or a vacation request approved, manage it all with Approvals in Teams.
There's so many easy, quick wins you can deliver on using this feature and integrate it into Teams. Anyway, on to the next feature, offline auto send. So if you're in the situation, you're using Teams and you haven't got an internet, or your broadband's down, or it's getting a little bit bitty, you're getting a bit of a nuisance. Well, before this feature, you wouldn't be able to send any Teams messages, any chat, or in channel chat and post and so on. But now you can. It'll stack it up. So carry on typing away, responding, putting in your chat, and Teams will stack it up. And when you back on your broadband, bang, they get sent through. And you might say, well, Mark, that's a feature I thought was there from day one, because and I absolutely agree with it, because we've used that feature in Outlook forever. But now Microsoft have brought it into Teams. So brilliant. Shared calendars in Teams. Using group calendars in Teams has always been a bit of a pain. Now there's an app which allows you to set up, for example, let's say the sales team. Sales manager wants to set up a calendar for all the regular weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings that occur. Got one calendar, that represents all of that, and that's a group calendar that everybody can access and drag those meetings into their own personal calendar. Or perhaps I want a calendar for everybody's, with the holiday calendar for everybody in my team. Well, again, you can use it for that. A great example of building out just another great feature. Right, let's do a roundup of new products that have come out. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, we all want to take the Teams experience into our meeting rooms. And yes, it's easy where I could put a laptop or a PC in that meeting room, connect a webcam to it, load up Teams, and bang, I've got a meeting room solution, which is a cheap one. But as you know, I'm sure many of you experienced, over time you start building up issues. It just doesn't work, and it starts gathering dust. Was people stop using that room, and people stop using that PC for meetings. Now there is an alternative, and that is using Microsoft's own certified products, and they come in two camps. We've got collaboration bars, which you can see on the left-hand side, and Microsoft Teams rooms. Now, essentially, a collaboration bar, think of them as a TV soundbar that you have at home, but soundbar that has cameras, microphone speakers with Teams experience on top of it. And we've just seen the release in recently from partners of Microsoft. We've got the Yealink A30, the AutoCodes RXB80. Yeah, these are great examples of bringing collaboration experience into small offices and huddle spaces. Now, Teams Rooms, which we see examples of on the right-hand side, is usually typically used to fit out your classic meeting rooms. Meeting team rooms devices, MTRs, are modular by design, consisting of a compute unit, desktop compute unit, microphones, cameras, speakers, blah, blah, blah. And we've seen released by Microsoft partners, those worth mentioning, Logitech's Rally Bar, check that out, brilliant, rich features. We've got the Crestron Flex Mercury Mini. It's a great tabletop kind of compute unit to control your room. Also flips into being used at home as well. And then we've got an example, the EPOS Expand ADT, an example of an intelligent speaker that is suitable for those meeting rooms with up to 7 people. I've talked about these in a previous webinar. Fantastic when you link it up with transcript and recording of your meetings. It really does give that rich experience for those who might be home, but those who are also in the office. Right, summary time. Let's bring this webinar to a conclusion. So what have we learned from today? Number 1, meeting lifecycle management is a real foundation feature that can make a difference in your organization. Yes, it requires a bit of a culture change, but why don't you become the champion in your organization and through your enthusiasm, take your colleagues on a journey and show them how much more productive they can be in their meetings. Number 2, not every meeting needs to be a formal meeting. If you have a specific topic you need to nail, then use Meet Now. The beauty of it is you and your colleague can revisit your decision-making process anytime in the future. Great context type stuff. Number 3, make meetings more engaging with interactive use of polls and breakout rooms. Love those features. And turn on together mode. Get away from that kind of grid kind of experience. Yeah, make it more immersive. I can see everybody around me. Yeah, and it's great. It's easier on the brain. And finally, number 5, background noise. The AI's noise suppression feature is a great get out of jail feature. So what next? Final slide. What's our call to action? There's so much rich analytical information to get your teeth into to help you make the most of your investment in Microsoft 365. We touched upon productivity score right at the beginning. Yeah, there's loads of rich analytical information which shows the behavior of your users or your organization that allows you to target how you want to improve the value people are getting out of Microsoft 365. So what can we do? There's 3 things. Watch out for 4 more short video nuggets over the coming weeks where we'll drill down further into productivity score. They're just 1, 2, 3, 4 minute kind of videoettes. Check them out, a little bit of education. Sign up, number 2, sign up for our productivity score webinar in March, where we'll look at how you could make the most of your investment in Microsoft 365. We'll drill down over 30 minutes on that. And finally, if you're ready, if the time's right, why don't you sign up for our free 2-hour online one-to-one review of your own productivity score? So that's it. We're finished. That's the webinar over. Thanks for your patience. We've run over. I hate myself for doing it. Stay safe and hopefully see you on a future webinar. Cheerio. Bye-bye.